listening to Balloon Killers. I'm your host, Chrissy Riley, and each episode I'll be talking to someone from the world of cowboy mounted shooting, which is one of the most exciting and fastest growing equestrian sports. Hold on to your hats because it's going to get western. So I thought that before I introduce the first balloon killer, I should probably tell you a little bit about me because this is the first episode. My first exposure to mounted shooting was at the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo in Wyoming, and at that point I didn't know anything about mounted shooting. I didn't even know it was a thing. So I thought that what I was seeing was some kind of trick riding demo type thing. And then when the announcer said it was a sport, my ears pricked up and I looked it up right there and then, good old Google, because, I mean, come on, there's nothing cooler than fast horses and guns, and I wanted a part of this. I found a local club and they told me about a clinic that was happening just a few weeks later. I left that clinic completely hooked and completely obsessed. It did take a minute though. I think this happens to a lot of people, but it took a minute to figure out a horse because the mare that I took to that clinic decided eventually that she really didn't like it. But the shooting community is just so awesome, and the lovely Megan Fisher let me borrow her sweet boy Rusty, thank you Megan, until I bought the horse that I ride now, and he's a big handsome blue-eyed paint called Flint. Unfortunately though, just when I was starting to make progress with him, I was diagnosed with cancer and took pretty much a whole year off for surgeries and treatment. But now I'm back. I'm still a level 1, but I think anyone who knows me knows that what I lack in speed, I definitely make up for in enthusiasm. I'm the secretary for the Colorado Regulators, which is my local club in northern Colorado, and I love this sport so much. I love that everyone and anyone can compete, all ages and abilities, and I just love the community and the people, which is why I wanted to make this podcast, because mounted shooting attracts the best people and I want to learn from them all. And I wanted to make a podcast that I really want to listen to on the way to a shoot. But without further ado, let's meet our first balloon killer. She and Matt Job facilitated the first clinic that I went to, and she is one of the sweetest people that I know, as well as being a phenomenal shooter. Chapman is the events director for CMSA, and she's also the founder of ShootPony, which is a mounted shooting non-profit organization. She's a ladies level 6 and she has countless wins, including local and national titles. Her husband Paul and her daughter Biven are also really top level shooters, and the whole Chapman family is committed to growing the sport. I interviewed Dee at her home in Larkspur, Colorado, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation. So I'm sitting down with the amazing Dee Chapman. And Dee, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Happy that summer's in full swing.
So how's this year going for you? Tell me about some of the mounted shooting successes and challenges that you've had.
Well, it's been a really good year. I'm super excited. I've been trying to focus on getting my futurity horse from last year. We call her Baby Tutu. I've been trying to get Baby Tutu to be a little more competitive and trying to get her ready for the Derby at Eastern Championship this year. So it's been a lot of fun. I have lots of young horses, but she's kind of my focus this year.
When's Easton's again?
The weekend after Labor Day in September. I don't know the exact date, but September.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into mounted shooting. I know you've been shooting for a really long time, but tell us the story of how did you get into it? Where did you start?
Well, the first mounted shooting used to parallel the SAS competitions, the Single Action Shooters Society. And people dress up in period clothing and compete in events where they have scenarios to go through, and it's a 3-gun competition. They shoot pistols and rifles and shotguns, and my husband Paul kind of got into that with a sheriff's deputy that lives near us, and we went up and camped for the weekend, and I took my barrel horses, and they had the mounted shooting, and that's the first time we'd seen it. And this is in about 2000. Bivin was just a baby that year, and at that time everybody was dressing in the period clothing, so these beautiful dresses. A lot of the ladies wore wigs. There was just a lot of competition, but they were playing wild music, and people were standing on their horses and doing YMCA, and I thought, what world have I gotten into? But it looked like so much fun. My barrel horses were all 6 tied along the edge of the trailer, and every time a shot went off, they'd fan left, and another shot they'd fan right, another shot they'd fan left, and they spent a lot of time going back and forth making a track on the trailer that day. But we kind of got hooked then, although we didn't really think that we could get our horses to do it or ever do it ourselves. We just were really interested in it.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you move into competing?
We started meeting some of the people, and even like Melody Beeman, who was a barrel racing friend of mine, would say, you ought to come, we're having a practice. So we'd take our barrel horses, and one day Melody let me ride her awesome horse, Augie, and it was just a rundown set up for practice at this time, and she said, here's my guns, you can shoot off of him. And I had so much fun and went so fast I forgot to even shoot. The group was just really welcoming, and actually it was a great way to get the horses used to it, giving them a different job setting balloons. And that was probably about 2002 we started going to the weekly practices.
How many competitions were there in this area of Colorado at that point?
Oh, geez. Probably not even a dozen a year, probably 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
And everything was outside. The ground rarely got worked. They didn't have a tractor. Like, it's come so far as the quality, but the people are still the same. The people are awesome.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing an article in the rundown where there was a shoot that was like outside in the desert. I think it was in Arizona, like in the early days, where they were running through the trees and through the scrub, and
yes,
not in a formal arena setting.
Yes, one of the first shoots we went to was in western Colorado, and the arena wasn't fenced. And this is like 2007, sometime around that. But I mean, even that recent. It had a horseshoe shape at the end. It was kind of a catch at the end of to slow your horse down, but the rest of it wasn't fenced at all.
And now we have 2 clubs in Colorado shooting, usually both clubs shooting at least once a month, so 2 shoots a month in Colorado. How far we've come, huh?
Yeah, and the size of the shoots and the participation is just really neat.
So you spoke to this a little bit as you answered about your story of getting into mounted shooting, but what do you love about the sport?
I think the people, hands down. It's always amazed me the relationships you build, not only locally but traveling across country, and it's such a small sport that sometimes you'll meet someone on an airplane traveling somewhere. I know you said you're getting ready to take a flight, and you might run into someone and they go, oh, my neighbor does mounted shooting. And you'll say, what's their name? And you say, well, you would never know them because we're from Florida. And you're like, try me. It's you might find out you do know them, and you had Cajun boil with them at the national championship. People are amazing. They will help you. They will watch out for you. We helped a friend get started in mounted shooting. He goes, I can't believe you let me use your guns. I came from team roping, and you can't even borrow a brush to brush your horse. So I think the people are what really makes it. And the people themselves, that everybody, it's such a new sport. Everybody comes from different backgrounds. We have trail riders, we have a lot of ropers, we have barrel racers, we have people who grew up doing reining, 3-day eventing. It's just we don't have fourth generation mounted shooters yet. So everybody comes from a really unique background.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I was at a mining competition, and
right.
yeah, it's one of those mining competitions, and I was telling somebody that I've been doing mounted shooting. I think it was the first year I started a couple of years ago, and he said, "Oh, you must know blah blah blah," and I was like, I do recognize that name. And then the next shoot I was at, she was there.
Right.
And I was able to say, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, this is a small, like it's a pretty small sport that's rapidly growing, but still able to make those connections in a small world.
Yeah, it's neat.
So tell us a bit about your guns. What are you shooting with?
I started off with Rugers, Ruger Montados, and I had been borrowing other guns before that, and they didn't always work. The rounds didn't always go off. And you have to understand, in the years we started, they still had squibs. Most people don't even know what squibs are or why there's squib language in the rule book, but a lot of rounds just didn't go off, or the guns weren't like fine-tuned and didn't have the action jobs they have now. I mean, we get really picky if something goes wrong. So I loved the Rugers. And then I shot, I went to a Kendall Unsane clinic, and she had Cimarron Thunderstorms that were her signature gun. And I shot some, and I'm like, I'm buying these. And I think currently I have 13 sets of Uberti guns. They're not all Cimarrons, but I think I have 13 pairs of Ubertis. And they are so fine-tuned, and they are such the Ferrari of mounted shooting guns, and they're so slick and they're so smooth. But I've been struggling this last year, and my gunsmith is my husband, and he's gone through all 13 sets with Adam Ross and fixed them and stolen parts and made them work. And about a month ago, I switched back to Rugers, and that's what I'm shooting because they go off every time.
I've definitely noticed, I started with the Ubertis, and now I'm shooting with Rugers, and the reliability of those things, I just feel so confident that when I point it, it's going to happen for me.
Right. I always referred to them as the tractors of mounted shooting. Like, yes, they're reliable, but they're a little bigger, a little heavier, a little clumsier, and I found out that I can shoot just as fast with them, so I don't know what the future holds, but I love my Montados right now.
What's the one shoot that you don't miss each year, and why not?
Oh, man, there are so many good shoots. Hands down, it's Lusk, Wyoming, and the Wyoming Rough Riders host a shoot. It used to be in the spring, and sometimes it would snow, sometimes it would rain. They've moved it to Labor Day weekend. And that was the first shoot we went to. I think we were a level 1 or 2 shooter the first time we traveled, and it was so top heavy. We had world champions at that shoot, Wes Walton, George Hardy, Payson Peterson, gosh, there were a couple more. Like, we'd seen so many levels 4, 5, and 6 shooters. I didn't even know there were that many high-level shooters in the world. And we were the minority, being 1s or 2s or whatever we were competing. So it was inspiring watching that level of competition. But we've gotten to be really good friends with the Hardys, who host that event. And every year they have a Guns, Cans, and Cattle event ahead of their shoot. And you shoot one stage, and it's usually a made-up pattern you've never seen before, so it's not practiced. And then you barrel race for a stage, and you have to use the same horse for all 3 events. And then you sort a steer for a stage, and the sorting ends up being hilarious because these are not sorting cattle. Sometimes they're roping cattle. Sometimes I think they're half wild, but it's so much fun, and it usually comes down to whoever has the best sort. And they give saddles away, and it's just everybody in the arena cheering each other on. It's so much fun. The camaraderie there, and it's Lusk, Wyoming is the least populated county of the least populated state of the lower 48. There's not much out there, but it is wonderful. So that's my favorite.
That's definitely one of the cool things about shooting. It is fun for sure, and it's a fun crowd who want to do fun things. And yes, it's competitive, and there's a lot of people who do really well, and people enjoy doing well and winning checks, of course, but also having fun and getting together is a key part of the sport.
Well, you find the hardy people too in the sport. And one year we went up there, and the balloon setters, they were either small in number or didn't show that year. It was pouring rain. You're splashing through water. I'm telling you, the ground could handle it. It was still fantastic. You could run as fast as your horse would run in that water. And the founder of our sport, Jim Rogers, was out there wearing a slicker setting balloons on horseback. I mean, those are the images I have of Lusk, Wyoming, for sure.
Everyone pitching in.
Yep.
What's your favorite pattern and why?
Oh, I was supposed to look up the number, and I forgot. But there are 2 barrels on the left, and you do a full barrel turn around both, and I think I can sound it out, but you round barrel 1, bang, bang. You round barrel 2, bang, bang. You shoot the next one on the way to the rundown and shoot the rundown. And I think it's just the inner barrel racer in me. Uh-huh. I love the barrel turns and motoring on. So
I love that you can sound it out.
Yeah.
That's someone who's ridden that pattern a lot of times.
Yeah, right. I think we all have those different ways of imagery, and I think a lot of times it's how it sounds.
What's the win that you're most proud of, and why?
I've had a lot of really cool wins. I think some of the wins are wins for different reasons. Years ago, I had been on a Sunday. I'd come off an Icelandic horse, and while I was trying to hang on to the reins, he was a stallion. I didn't want him to get away and run back to the barn where he lived. His hind leg came up and caught me in the chin and split my jaw in half and shattered both sides. I went to emergency surgery that day, and they wired my jaw shut. And Friday of that week, we had the National Western Stock Show, and I won it. And that was pretty cool because I wasn't on any painkillers. I couldn't tolerate them. But I was just so hungry. I wanted to eat, and I couldn't eat solid food. And so that was bittersweet, just riding my good horse. My favorite recent win is the Hassett Guthard performance horse shoot we went to last year in the middle of Nebraska. I think it was 200 degrees outside, and it was really deep sand, but the competition was tough, and I pulled off a win and got a buckle, and that's the buckle I wear on a daily basis lately. And there's so many, but sometimes it's not the prize or what you get, it's just the accomplishment with the horse or whatever I'm working on at that time. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're all shoot ponied up.
Yes.
I'm wearing my shoot pony shirt as well, and you're wearing your shoot pony hat and shirt. So tell us about Shoot Pony. What is it, and where did you get the idea?
Yeah, Shoot Pony is my passion. It's a nonprofit organization trying to give back to the mounted shooting community. And right now I'm giving back with added money and prizes. We produce a couple of events a year. But the Shoot Pony format itself is a program to run in conjunction with our CMSA shoots. And it's a 4D payback that pays back clean per stage. And so we've all had those shoots where you go out and you have a bad stage and you just maybe want to go home and go, well, I can't win anyway. But I love the Shoot Pony because if you shoot clean on a stage, you're eligible to win money. It doesn't mean you will. All the clean shooters on a particular stage, the total is divided by 4, and based on the original entries, it pays out in the 1D, 2D, 3D, and 4D for that stage. Last hole in the 4D gets at least their entry fee back for that stage. This format right now is available to all clubs using my software, which is an Excel program, so it has to run alongside the CMSA scoring software. For the majors that CMSA puts on, it's available and we run it through their database. And you can run it at that event. It's up to every producer how they want to do it. You can enter multiple horses. And I love ShootPony for multiple horses because as you're developing young horses, you have a chance to win money and run your horse where they're at. You don't have to be the fastest, you just have to be clean and see where the cards fall. Eventually, and hopefully that happens this year, it will be part of the CMSA scoring software, so it's available to all clubs to use, and it'll be a payout that just gets added to the checks, and the clubs can post at their events.
That's so exciting as secretary of a club.
I know, and you've had to do it. You've had to do it the hard way, where you enter times and do that.
I'm pretty excited about that, and I know that a lot of people that sign up are really excited about the second horse opportunity. And I also love it when people think, because they don't realize that it's by the stage, and at the end of the shoot they get a check, and they're like, but I didn't do very well. How did I get a check? And because it's by the stage, it's just that they had a good stage. So.
Yeah, it gives everybody a chance. That's the goal. And I actually got the idea originally when we started the sport. Everybody had the divisions, level 1, level 2, level 3. But a lot of areas in the country that and we've seen this here in Colorado too, where it's difficult to fill some of the classes. And so the payout, for instance, our regional shoot is next weekend. I'm the only ladies 6, so I can only win X% of my money back. And there's not a way to do that. So I like that. And we got that idea following barrel racing. We started a 3D that was based on the final results at the end of the match. And we just took, if you had 100 entries, divide it by 3 and say 1 to 33 is the 1D, 34 to 66 is the 2D, 67 to 100 is the 3D. And we still have clubs in Colorado and across the country that do that D based upon the final results at the end of the match. But then when we were traveling, we saw the Texas clubs and New Mexico clubs were manually figuring what ShootPony is now. Uh-huh. And we loved that format because the reasons we talked about, that you can not have your best shoot but still win some good money.
That's awesome. And it provides more opportunities for winning money, which gives people more incentives.
Right.
So maybe that's the thing that's exciting in the works, that you're adding it to CMSA. Is there anything else exciting in the works that you want to talk about?
Well, I work for CMSA, as you mentioned at the intro, the podcast. We're trying to streamline a few things in CMSA. We've already made it easier for the clubs to enter their shoot information. From being secretary and submitting shoots, they wanted to know who the paternal grandfather of the arena owner was. And I mean, it wasn't that extreme, but there were a lot of details that just nobody really did anything with. So we cut those out, we streamlined it, we made it easier. We hope to have a cloning program where you can copy a shoot you did last year and just resubmit for next year with the new information.
I love that idea.
Yeah. And we're also working on family members being able to log in and enter for multiple shoots for your family member. I know, like the Parsons family in Colorado, they've got 5 shooters in their family. If they go to a 2-day weekend event or a 3-day weekend event, that's a lot of going back and forth to get their entries in. So we're working on that as well.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
What's a little known fact about you?
Oh my gosh. I'm a math nerd.
Well, that doesn't surprise me with the ShootPony Excel.
Yeah, I love math. I love tutoring math. I've got kids that I tutor, and then I geek out because I've got a girlfriend that she's a math nerd too, and we text each other on Pi Day and Albert Einstein's birthday. So
this is a bit of an odd question, but maybe will be helpful for other people. What's the most useful thing in your trailer when you're on the road? What should we all have in our trailers that we might not have?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's a few things. This is the first time we've had a trailer with air ride, and I don't know how we lived without it. So that's kind of a big thing. But one of my favorite things in my trailer is the thing that comes back and forth between the trailer and the house, and that's my collapsible laundry basket. It's got a shoulder strap, and I take it to the trailer with all my clean folded clothes and bedding and towels, and I carry it full to the house and start Laundry Mountain on Monday morning, and we do that. I think the best thing for the horses, besides the air ride, is Paul made a misting system for our trailer. So like when we go to Vegas in August, and it's so hot going across the desert, we'll turn on the mister and it mists the horses going down the road. And I think it drops the temp quite a bit and makes them more comfortable for their ride.
The Chapman spa.
Yes.
So what about what's next? What are your plans or ambitions for the future? You've done so much, but I'm sure that you've got something else on the horizon, knowing you.
I'm trying to work on some new horses for me and for Paul right now. Paul is competing on Bivens' horse, who's 20. My maiden horse, Frenchie, is 19. My long gun horse is 18. His horse is 17. Like, they've all got some good age to them, and they're going strong, and we're taking care of them. But working on some good quality horses that are gonna step up and fill those big shoes. So all the babies.
Looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. And I can't believe how old your horses are, because they certainly do not act like it or look like they're that old. You definitely take great care of them.
Thank you. We love them. They're family.
Well, thank you so much, Dee. I really appreciate the time that you've given to this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Dee Chapman for taking time out of her busy schedule to speak to me. It is always a pleasure to spend time with Dee. After recording, it was very exciting because CMSA announced that Dee is currently in the top 10 in the world standings, only 4 months away from Worlds, so wishing her the very best of luck with the rest of the season. If there are balloon killers you would like to hear interviewed on this podcast, please email me on balloonkillers@gmail.com. That's balloonkillers, all one word, @gmail.com.